So, in my story, technically I've been a Christian my whole life. Um, Went to a Christian school, had a Christian family. It was all great. I thought nothing was wrong. Um, I'd find out stuff was later, nothing serious, nothing crazy. Um, but the faith that I had living as a Christian as I was when I was little was shaken up several times as I moved several times throughout the country, losing great friends I had made and rearing out the fact I never really had a foundation. Now, I went to church with my family every Sunday. It was a very small, tight knit church where everybody knew everybody, and it was great. It was awesome. I mean, my Sunday school teacher was my great aunt, and my other Sunday school teacher was an old family friend that we've known, well, that I've known since I was born. And I loved it. I loved every second of it. I had family next to me all the time to share, um, I guess, my faith journey that I had at the time. I keep on using quotes because at the time I had no clue what it really meant to be a Christian or what a Christian life really looked like. Um, Going to school when I was little, preschool and kindergarten and whatnot, my mom was working most of the time, and then she would come home to or go to school to pick me up, take me home, and my dad wouldn't come home till around dinner time. I'd eat, do homework. It was a private school, so I had a lot more homework um, than usual. I mean, at least that's how I remembered it. And so I wouldn't really see what it was like to live a daily life as a Christian. Now, I had great influencers that I'll mention later on that did live this, and it was my grandparents on my mom's side. But back to the moving part. So throughout many moves, I realized that something was just missing. Like, I didn't have a real foundation for my faith, and so I started living in this shame and guilt, and that kind of turned into a depression. Now, I moved enough to where I just didn't want to make friends anymore. I felt alone. I felt isolated. I moved to the point to where I just didn't see any point in sharing me or who I really am with other people, and that probably helped a little bit with the shame. But another little part was that I was really short. I was really small, really skinny, consistently picked on for how small I was, and that really just made me not like who I was. That just started another whole spiral that built into this depression that was gathering and gathering, just filled with shame and doubt and fear and lack of self-esteem. This doesn't really manifest for another couple of years, so I lived in my first home till I was halfway through fifth grade. Moved across the country for 2 years, another 2.5 years of my life, and then moved closer to where my first home was, but still not quite there, and going to a different school. So I ended up going to 3 different middle schools, 2 different elementary schools, and 2 different high schools. I moved again after that, but it was in the middle of this move back closer to where my first house was that this depression really started manifesting, where I just started living life in shame, period. Whether it was a good day or a bad day or just the weekend or it was just whatever it was, I was just always living in this constant shadow of shame and guilt that I shouldn't have been. This manifested a couple of times that I just felt so overwhelmed by this shame that shouldn't have existed that I attempted suicide a few times. Now, praise God, it failed, and it was through His glory and power that right before it was about to happen, I was like, you know what? Let's listen to one last song. I love music. I love music so much. And this song that happened to pop on, I don't ever remember changing my radio to the station it was on, but it was a song called Come Here and Cry on My Shoulders by Overflow on K-Love, and I just lost it. From then, I started seeking help in my own ways. I never really told anyone about this incident for a long time now, but it was because of it I was able to more passionately, I guess, reach out to my grandma on my mom's side. Now, she was an amazing spiritual woman, and she, I can easily say, is the reason I am who I am today. She taught me so much. She taught me how much power as a Christian we have over these things that torment us, these things that bring us down, these things that I wanted to neglect, called demons. It still at times feels weird to talk about it, but they are real, and I didn't want to admit that when I was little. I mean, it's too scary. These things that I can't see want to put me down, and it's like, ugh. But after accepting that, after acknowledging that, she also taught me what it meant to live as a Christian, what it really meant, what the daily life should look like, what we do, what we don't do, and why we don't do it, or why we do it. It was wonderful. And for those next couple of years, so from 7th grade till about my freshman year in high school, I was living in the power of Christ, and I could not have been more happy. It was a beautiful. My depression was still there, but it was going away, and life was slowly getting better. But as things were getting so good, I knew something bad was about to happen, and my grandma, that has taught me so much, has been with me for so long through this faith journey, was diagnosed with stage 4 bone cancer. It really hurt. It really sucked. I wanted to get away from God as fast as possible, but I knew that is not what she would have wanted. And so, through the loyalty I had to my grandma and her teachings, I just kept on pursuing God, and it manifested in so many beautiful ways. Despite everything that happened, I was able to live in the power and joy that God has given me. It was through God's power that I was able to live in the joy. That was God just had there. I just had to have the strength to take it. And yeah, I wanted to be mad. Yes, I wanted to sit there and mope. No, this wasn't a 1 or 2 day process. This was a several month process. But after accepting it and reaching out to it, living in His joy has just been so much better. It's so nice, and it's not conditional. It's not, if it's a good day, I'm in joy. If it's a bad day, I'm not. It's no matter what. And I needed this, because in the next few years of my life, I'd be losing one family member or a friend after another throughout my college career and my high school career, and it would bring me down. But it was because of this joy that God gave me the power to live in, that I was able to make it through, I guess, intact as I did. It was at this point, so halfway through high school now, so going into the beginning of my junior year, I felt a call to ministry, and ever since I have been pursuing it as hard as I can. But I was never really made so apparent that I'm an introvert, and it took me so long to discover this, and how shy I really am around people. Then the time I was going to give my first message, I believe it was for a class up in, no. It was for a youth group. The youth leader had heard about how I feel called to it and wanted to help me out with that. And it was never made so apparent of how introverted I am and how hard it is to do the speaking thing as that. And praise God that this has happened every time I've gone to preach, but every single time I just know it is through His will, through His power, that I can do these crazy things that I could not do by myself. And kind of fast forwarding, through my college career, still pursuing that, still losing the family members, still losing the friends, going through that, going into a little bit of a motion place, sitting in the motions, or going through the motions, getting out of that rut, once again, due to the power that God has given me, or empowered me with through Christ, has been a beautiful mess, I guess is the only way I can really put it. Now still living in the beautiful joy God has given me, still praying for that power every time I need to speak, still shooing the shame of depression that has lingered with me for all the years. But it's been getting easier. Life is just so much better with God, and it's something I was really reluctant to admit in my motion phases of life, but couldn't be more true than what it really is. So that's the gist of my story. Thank you for listening, and well, yeah.